Hey, everybody. Okay, welcome back. I've always really wanted to do that. Who hasn't loved the good, the bad, and the ugly? Okay, well, I mean, I could have listened to Billy for the next 3 hours. I wish actually that was all we were doing. Moneyball was so much of the inspiration for FBN and through everything that we've done. It was just awesome to be able to hear it from Billy himself. You know, the basic lesson for farming, we're going to get into it, and we're going to go through a whole range of different new products and new things from FBN, as well as some of the basics. But the basic point is that across your whole business, every time we've looked, we keep finding exactly what Billy talked about. Areas where either opportunity is being mispriced or aspects of your business can be fundamentally changed with a different decision model and a bit of information. And it's because of the network, and it's because of your participation in the network and sharing that's created the ability for you all to take advantage of that and for us to create those opportunities. So it is just phenomenal. I hope that was as valuable for you as it was for us. And now we'll get to show you how to put it into action a little bit. So we have a lot of amazing new announcements to go through. You're going to get to hear about them in much more detail throughout the event. I'll cover them briefly here. I will need every minute of your attention because we have a lot of big new things to cover. It's been a busy year for us. So, firstly, the basics. For those of you who haven't been to Farmer2Farmer before, or you've been around, you've heard us talk about this before, but nothing's changed. Why was FBN created? Well, FBN was created very simply to help solve this problem, which is that as producers, you play in a market that is unfair. You play in a market where you have vastly disproportionate power, vastly less power than the people you do business with. On either side of US and Canadian farmers, you have massively consolidated agribusiness. Okay? Those companies control a lot of the input, the distribution and retail, the marketing, and the purchasing, in almost all aspects of agriculture. Yet in the middle, you have millions of farms, 2 million farms in the United States, and you add Canada, it's even more. Okay? And yet producers have the lowest incomes, the lowest returns, the lowest profitability of the supply chain. That's why FBN was created. Nothing has changed. And very simply, what we do is we give you strength in numbers. We create a network to help you leverage the power of that network to level the playing field. That's what we are. What is FBN? This often comes up. You know, what are you guys now? You were, started with analytics and it's expanded into many, many things. So what is FBN? It's still very simple. Nothing has changed. FBN is a network. First and foremost, we're a network. We are a membership network of now 9,650 farms across the US and Canada. And it's from that network and from the strength of the network, from your participation in it, that we can then create products and opportunities for you to do better business. That's it. That's what FBN is across the board. It all comes back to the network and your participation. So thank you. Excited to announce, we've shown this every year for Farmer2Farmer. We're very proud to now be just shy of the size of the state of Iowa, okay? Really excited because we've been working our way through the former colonies of the East Coast, tiny states, and now finally the size of a major ag-producing state. And actually, in terms of the cropland within Iowa, it's almost 150% the size of Iowa. 35 million acres, over 35 million acres in the US and Canada, and it's grown every day for the last year, and it's still growing and growing and growing. So it's tremendous. You think about that market power I talked about earlier, $144 billion of land that you all control. You have a major resource at your disposal. Now you have to put it to work. Okay? We are also now an international network of farmers. The problems that farmers face in the US, we started here, of course. We started with a handful of farms in Illinois and then Nebraska and Iowa. What started here has spread across North America. The problems you face are very similar. Supplier consolidation, lack of competition, being stuck in the middle, exactly what we talked about. Now we've come up to Canada, and we're very proud to announce that we will very soon be in Australia, okay? And if you think we have it rough here in the US, in Australia, there are only 2 retailers now that control the whole market. It's even more consolidated than in the US and Canada. So we're very excited to be coming to Australia soon with FBN Direct. Some of the data that powers the system, that powers the information, and the tools that will show you that it enables. How's it grown? Well, when we did our first Farmer2Farmer there, end of 2015, 22.6 what we call acre events of data. That's all the precision data. Now 230 million, it's over that, acres of data, and it grows very substantially as you all add your harvest records from the end of the year. So it's grown enormously. It's an enormous amount of data. We'll show you how to put it to work. Price transparency. You've now added 120,000 price points of seed and chemical across the US and Canada. Almost 25,000 seed tags of all kinds of different crops to help us do genetic matching. They now are covering 5,350 seeds in Seed Finder, meaning all those seeds have performance and price profiles that you've all built out to be able to understand. So it literally makes the world your plot trial. That's the whole model. That by participating, you get to see what's actually happening in the real world, and then you get the statistical tools and the business opportunities to take advantage of it. And that's the whole point of being a network, is you get to learn more and learn faster than you ever could on your own. Now, we call that democratizing information and democratizing commerce, because what that basically means is taking control of that information and taking control of that from in the commerce potential from those who've traditionally had it, who've used that for commercial advantage, and putting it back to the folks who are creating it. Your farms drive the whole industry. You are the customer of the entire input business and the machinery business. You are the seller to the entire supply chain. It's your farms who are the most critical player. So it is critical that you have control. It's the only business that is this large, where it's this consolidated on either side, where the primary producer is fragmented. And if you think about it in the case of oil, it's like you had two companies who owned all the rig roads and two companies who owned all of the gas stations, and 2 million oil wells in the middle that were each owned by a different family, right? You'd have no power in that situation. That's not the way that market works. Agriculture is the only business that's this large that works that way. So we have to change that. So, beating the odds. We talked about that, and we talked about how we're going to do that. And for us, very simply, as we talked about earlier, you have to think about the Stockdale paradox, as we talked about. That means confronting reality on the nose, but at the same time, never losing sight of the fact that you can prevail, and you will prevail. As Stockdale talked about, it was the people who got too optimistic that they were going to get out of the POW camp earlier that didn't make it, or the folks that didn't believe they would make it. They'd lose faith. But it was the ones who accepted their reality and confronted it brutally, but also knew that they could endure. Those were the ones who did well. So you have to confront the brutal facts, and one of those is that you're the Oakland A's, okay? No matter who you root for, you got to play like the A's. We play like the A's. We have to play like the A's. We don't have the resources of a giant company. We had to start very small and be very scrappy, and that's informed every single thing we've done. We always act like the A's, and if you act like the A's, there's enormous advantages to capture on your farm. No matter how many acres you farm, or no matter what crop you farm, you find those advantages with information. And Moneyball farming, as Billy, the question was asked, how does this apply to agriculture? And Billy rightly said he has no idea. Okay, well, we have a few ideas, and we're going to show you that. But it very simply comes down to, if in his business, he's buying wins, and he's using his payroll to buy wins, in your business, you're using your expenses to buy income, okay, and profit potential, ultimately. That's what ultimately matters, is that profit potential. Not buying yield, you're buying profit potential. And your economics can be reduced very simply. Farm economics are complicated, of course, but they are simple. There's a basic equation, which is that your net profit or loss is your yield times your price minus your cost. That's it. That it all comes down to those factors. But often in agriculture, the emphasis all goes onto the yield side. That's how we like to operate as farmers, because it feels good. It's the thing that's easy to see. It's easy to see that crop is healthy. It's easy to think we're doing a good job and we have high yields, but it may not actually be getting us the best outcome, and can be having all kinds of adverse effects on overproduction and things like that. They're affecting prices, okay? So focusing on the price and the cost side of the equation gets too little attention, and that's what we're going to show you how to do that. So FBN creates what we call a farm ROI system, return on investment. Everything we do is designed to give you a very strong ROI, create opportunities so you get the maximum return on your economic investment on the farm. It starts with inputs that you can get through the FBN Direct e-commerce platform, chemicals, seeds through F2F genetics, and fertilizer. It goes into the way you market your crop so that you can market better, get premiums, contracts, and intelligence. It's underlined by analytics so that you have the information, pricing transparency, and the decision tools to actually make the right decisions, powered by the network in an independent and objective way. And now it's also supported by the infrastructure that you have to run your farm: the financing, the insurance, and the healthcare. The things that are essential to run the farm that you may not think about as agricultural expenses or agricultural products. And lastly, while we are very, very focused as a data network, we're a community. We're a network of all our members. And that community adds an incredible richness to the way you can make decisions and the business opportunities you can create with one another. I know a lot of people come to Farmer2Farmer to do deals with one another. So, Moneyball farming takes analytics. You know, and Billy talked about all their work was based on the work of Bill James, who had written some very famous books that were popular statistical guides for baseball fanatics. Well, that data hasn't existed in agriculture. So that was the first problem, is that where is it going to come from? And how are you going to make those decisions? That's what the basics of the FBN Analytics platform have been, is that you now can create it, and you have created it. If you think about your career on the farm, you often have heard about the concept of the 40 chances, your 40 seasons to master your craft. With the FBN network, we have now 25,000 years of farming experience, of cumulative farming experience that have been shared and processed through the system. So if you think about that, instead of using every time you go to make a decision, the wisdom you've accumulated over those 40 years, or even your family's history, which might add a couple hundred more years, you have 25,000 years every time you go to make a decision. You can learn faster. Now, that has created the ability for us to find out some very basic things about the industry that were behind the curtains and that were hidden. One of the things we talked about last year was seed relabeling. Now, seed relabeling is the practice where seed companies will sell the identical product, genetically identical product, under different brand names, carrying different labels, and charge you different prices. Farmers knew this was going on. You shared your tags with FBN. We proved it. 49% of the corn seeds, 54% of the soybean seeds were genetically identical, meaning they were being sold by multiple companies. Okay, and sometimes $100 a bag difference. You figured that out through the network because you told us to look at it. We did, and we made the technology available to do it. That's an incredible example of how network analytics brought to bear to save money. Another one, we talked about this a couple years ago. We updated this data just recently. So do traits pay? It's a basic question. Are we overpaying for seed, for example? Well, we looked at this nationally across those millions of acres of yield data that you all have provided over several years. The national average for traded seed in the US, this is in corn, was 178 bushels an acre. The national average for conventional seed in corn was 177 bushels an acre. The price difference was $119 a bag. No one's had both the yield information and the price information to ever do that kind of analysis on a national scale. Okay? So you're averaging 1 bushel an acre difference, but you're paying $120 a bag nearly. That's almost $50 an acre for that 1 bushel of average gain. Meaning almost all of those economics are not coming back to the farm. The average, on average, those economics are not coming back to the farm. Okay? So we built the system, Seed Finder, which allows you to cut through all that information. It's available on the app and in your phone, and it does it all. It does relabeling, it does full performance profiles of those 5,300 seeds, and it gives you the full price transparency. Because just like there's performance differences, farmers are often paying 2.5 times what each other are paying for seed due to these zone pricing and other practices in the market. So that's the first step. You've got to have the tools and the information that you all have created. Now, we've made a big new update. It just started coming out here in the last couple weeks, which is to start doing what we've done for seed, but doing that in chemicals and fertilizer. And the first foray in doing that is automated strip trials. So for any of you who are running precision systems on your fertilizer equipment, running a variable rate applicator, or you're running variable rate on your spray rigs, drop your data into FBN, and you'll automatically get all products and fields compared with yield analysis. It happens automatically. Okay? So anytime you change a rate, anytime you change a product, you get full yield analysis field by field done automatically when you drop your data into FBN. And it works on any input. It works on chem, it works on fertilizer. It's soon going to be in seed here in the next couple weeks. And what that's going to do is that's going to open up the world of analytics around fertilizer and chem, the same as we've been able to do for seed. And so here's a first look at some of those type of analytics. We looked at fungicides, for example. We looked at all the examples where we saw a farmer do a side-by-side trial of 2 different fungicide products. And you can see some popular products, Preaxor, Delaro, Strategio, Lance, Trivapro, okay, VersaControl. You can see which products actually performed better than others on average when you had that control. Well, we're going to be able to start doing those chem and fert analytics here just like we've done for seed, and you also get it personalized in an automated fashion. Another thing that we released last year was imagery. So you got automatic imagery updates. But now we do change detection. The next step is actually alerting you based on the imagery when something's changed in your field. So every 5 days, or every week, when the imagery refreshes, our system analyzes every field, and when we spot something that changes, you get an alert. So you get to sift through all that imagery without having to look at the field, and it's going to automatically detect it for you. And the next step will actually be doing identifying the actual issues. But that's all live. It went out this summer. You'll all have it this season as well. Now, yield prediction at the field level. A lot of people talk about yield prediction for marketing, but actually at the field level, we started doing this in corn, soybeans, and now we're going to be doing it in other crops in the northern plains in Canada. Okay? We validated this model. We're now accurate within 10% at a field level. So on a week-by-week basis, it's updating your expected yield based on the genetics you planted, based on the imagery, based on the weather, based on other factors, whether or not you had fertilizer or other things you did in the field. It's constantly updating, and it's now accurate within 10%. If you want it more accurate, you just add more data. You build a better network around you. It gets smarter and smarter and gets better at predicting your yields. You can use it for all kinds of things, harvest planning, marketing intelligence, and the like. So, analytics have a whole range of opportunities, and Matt's going to talk about those in the data science talk. And I'm only showing you a snippet of all the analytical capabilities of FBN in terms of what it can do. But one of the big questions has also been, what types of issues are analytics not going to answer? Analytics will answer what we can measure, right? We have to have data. We have to have a common source of data. We have to be able to analyze it to do that. There's a whole lot of things that analytics are not well suited to do. Certain types of advice, machinery help, you name it. Questions you deal with every day. So people turn to social media. Well, social media's got a whole lot of challenges, as I'm sure a lot of you experience. And sometimes that turns people off from wanting to ask questions in a really helpful way. So we wondered if social media can be civil and helpful for farmers. Some of the problems we see when we go on ag social media is there's split incentives. So what makes you popular doesn't always help people as much. People might want to make a snide remark or something like that, and it gets a lot of retweets. There's all kinds of trolls and toxic conversations out there that keep people from asking questions or asking vulnerable questions. You have salespeople all over the place, and different platforms have different community values. So there's also an enormous potential for the wisdom of the crowd. Just like with analytics, all of your social feedback can be extremely helpful if it's in the right way and you have the right values and the right approach. So we were very, very excited to release the FBN community. It was an idea that came from a group of farmers who visited us in California, and they said, yeah, we would like that, we would want to do it. And we structured it as a question and answer system. It's not set up like a regular social media system. It's set up as a question and answer system to help you answer questions and tap into the value of the network. It's already become the fastest growing product in FBN. It's used by well over 70% of our members. And each post has an average of 5 responses. So if you have a question, just tap the network. The only people in the network are farmers. It's very simple. And it's all of you. It's farmers who have a helpful attitude and who want to solve problems together. So that's very different from a lot of parts of social media, and it's already going great. Now again, that's on the app. As I've said over and over again, just get the app because everything's on there, and as we roll out all these new products, we're building them with a mobile focus first. So we're releasing products on the app typically before we release them on the website now. So it's your network. That's the basics of FBN, is that we're a network. It's yours. It's made up of all of our members, and you get to tell us what to do, what to focus on, what questions to ask, what issues to analyze, what problems to solve, what businesses to tackle. it's critical that we get that participation from you and that you participate with each other, because that's what's grown FBN and built FBN from the ground up. Now, it's all in the app. The community, the maps, and other analytics, input buying, grain marketing, and seed finder, it's all in the app. And as we keep rolling out that technology, you're going to keep getting it in the app. So make sure your notifications are set so you can get auto updates and the like. Now, what that means is you just tell us what you want to know. Our data science team is here. Our analysts are here. Our marketing team's here. Seed people are here. Everyone is here, so we want to get that feedback from you so to figure out what the next problems are that need to be tackled. And we have a list that are dozens or hundreds long that you've asked us. And when we hear over and over and over again about certain issues, that's what tells us to go and investigate something. That's what we did with seed relabeling and price transparency and any number of our projects. So please, we love that. We love that, and please keep us up to date with what you want, what you need, and expect from us. Okay, FBN Direct. So a lot of you are FBN Direct customers. We work with thousands of farms all across North America with FBN Direct. FBN Direct was created because we saw these problems in price transparency, where effectively we asked, folks started seeing what we were doing in seed performance and saying, okay, well, can you look at prices? And we started looking at chem, and we realized there was these enormous problems. And this is a sampling of what you see from the FBN price transparency report from your invoices. You have some products that you guys are paying 5, 4, 5, 7 times as much as one another. And that is not because of shipping, as we've talked about. It's not because of farm size. It's because of the lack of transparency in the market. You don't know what other people are paying, so you don't know what a good price is at any given moment. And the way you solve that problem is very simple. It's with transparency. It's with having open and flat pricing and not having a barter system that has dominated this industry. Okay, so it was our goal that inputs should be simple, they should be transparent, and they should be unbiased. So you should be able to make decisions objectively based on product performance, based on actual prices, and take advantage of information like relabeling, which we show you in chem and seed. So we've made a bunch of updates to the chemical system, so you can search your products by use, you can target a pest or a disease and see all the appropriate products. It will automatically pull rates now, so it'll pull all the rates for your state for that product, so you get recommended use. You can see exactly how much you should be using. And then it turns that into a savings analysis. So it looks at products that you've purchased, it looks at how much you've paid, it finds the rates, it finds your location, and it shows you how much you should be paying. And it automatically does that savings analysis. If you haven't had that done, a number of you have had it here at the show, just go to the FBN Direct booth and they'll do it in the booth. And then very simply, it turns into a simple checkout purchase. It's no haggling, it's no negotiating. The price you get, same in the network. We have flat pricing across the country, and that's the basic model. We want it to be simple and fair and easy. And that has driven enormous savings. We've saved our members. Thousands of members have saved, cumulatively millions, tens of millions of dollars across the network. I had a member tell me last night he was saving an average, he estimated, of $100,000 to $120,000 a year over the last 3 years on FBN Direct. He'd cut his chemical bills in half, and it's just phenomenal to hear those kind of stories. Now, we've heard you about what you wanted to make FBN Direct better. As good as those savings were, people still had a lot of issues and would say, well, here's what I need, or here's what I need to do to get the benefits here on my farm. It maybe isn't the right fit for me. Every one of your situations is different. So here's some of the things you said. You said, you don't have agronomy. You don't have swaps and returns. How do I return something when I bought it online? I need it now, like right now. I've got an in-season issue. I need it now. I want to go pick it up. You guys are online. You're not local. You're not in my community. Well, not anymore. Okay. So one of the biggest things we've done is quietly, over the last year, we've put together a local partner program. We now have 183 farmer partners in the US and Canada who are made up almost entirely of our members. It's member-driven, it's member-managed, and they range from our community builders in Canada to what we call our hubs in the US, which are actual distribution points of product, and what we call our seed ambassadors in F2F genetics. So we have 183 local partners who are made up of our members. We'll have 300 by planting in North America. So not only is FBN local and in your community, FBN is now you. Okay? It's not just online, it's made up of all of you. And so one of the things we want to talk about is our hubs, for those of you in the US. Now, at the hubs, you're going to be able to pick up products. They're going to be stocked within season. They're typically managed by our members, or it's a side business that one of our members is running. You can do returns and swaps locally at the hub. You can do free pickup on your own schedule. You're going to have in-season products that are going to be available to you, and you're still going to get the benefit of the flat network pricing. There's no difference in pricing. It's the same model. It just gives you a local point to pick up, return, and have the access to FBN. It's a permanent presence in your community, so that gives you a lot more security and confidence when you need products right away. It's incredibly exciting. And also, this is something that we're excited to roll out to our members. We are looking for hundreds of new partners over the next couple of years as we roll out our various farmer partner programs. So if you're interested, if you believe in what we're doing, if you have either facilities or you simply are looking for another business opportunity on the farm, you can become a hub or you can become one of our other programs. And if you're interested at all in doing that, come talk to us at the FBN Direct booth. Our whole team, our supply chain team is here, and we can show you what it's all about. But it's really, really awesome because we're going to be in hundreds of communities, not just creating jobs, but directly supporting your farms in new ways and bringing more dollars, not just through savings, but through new businesses as well into your regions. So we're really excited. Now, one of the other comments we often got was you don't have guarantees or reps on various products. Well, we're proud that we now have a program with Willowwood USA that has a full lineup of generic chem where we're manufacturer direct. So you have the full confidence of that manufacturer program through FBN. There's no middleman, there's no broker. It's straight to FBN, and that gives you a full range of confidences that we haven't had in the past. Agronomy. This has been something that folks need various levels of help with. Some of you have agronomists who might walk the field and do an enormous amount of work. Some of you just need a consultation or have a quick question about a product. So we have a different model. We have what we call FBN Agronomy. It combines network data and the information that's in the system with local degreed agronomists for data-driven decision-making. These are folks that do not have sales commissions. They do not operate like a sales agronomist, which you're used to. They are PhD agronomists who support our members. They are not part of the sales force, and they do not have a commission. And what we do is, it is like having a PhD in your pocket, is the way I like to think about it. So you have access to our agronomists. We have 6 folks now, led by Darren Lickfeld, who's out in Indiana. We'll be expanding this as well, across the US and Canada. And there's a couple ways you get access to that. First, you can always call the agronomy hotline. It's on the app. When you go onto FBN Direct, there's a button there for the agronomy hotline. You can call in and talk to us. You can post something in the community. If you post something on community and you tag agronomy, our folks are there to help you answer. You can post a picture of a disease or a pest. You can have a question about a rate or a product, and our folks can help you answer whether or not that's appropriate. And you can also text in. You can just text the agronomy hotline. It's in the app as well. We'll respond immediately like that. So it works across the country. We're expanding the footprint of our agronomic team to provide you more local intelligence. They can help you with chem questions, seed questions, fertilizer questions, other disease issues. Just try us. Post it in there, and let us see how we can help. Because this is really great, because we know you need various levels of support, and this is our first step in being able to do more to actually give you the agronomic intelligence combined with the data. Now, the financing has always been really exciting with FBN Direct. We have 0%. We also now have 0% Club, and 0% Club means you get 0% on all your products throughout the whole year. And if you're in the 0% Club, you can use 0% financing on any seed, any chem, in season or pre-season, up until, I believe, until September or so, and no payment until December of the next year. Okay, and the first deadline on that is on December 20th to get into 0% Club. And so come to the FBN Direct booth or the finance booth to get into that if you're not already in there. So that is the most farmer-friendly program we can create, 0% all year. So FBN Direct has been working very hard to give you input power, okay? It's not a retailer, and it's not simply an e-commerce program, but it's a full input selection and purchasing system, and now a delivery system to get it to your farm quickly. It gives you the full price transparency from the network, gives you all the label and rate information you need to use products, now agronomic support, and now a local partner for pickup and returns, and full access to network pricing. Okay? Nothing's changed about that. The pricing model is the same. Now, last year, one of the things we talked about that we rolled out was seed. And there's a lot of problems in seed that we've discovered through information. And we said, okay, if you wanted to design a seed company from the ground up based on what we know, what would you do differently? So we said, if farmers designed a seed company, what would it look like? So we created the F2F Genetics Network, stands for Farmer2Farmer, principles of FBN. And it was set out to solve these problems. The oligopoly pricing power built on traits. That traits giving those companies enormous control of the market. Lack of price and performance transparency, the number of players, number of hands between the breeder and your farm, which raise prices, the mass marketing of genetics, relabeling, and zone pricing. This is the way the industry works. It starts with that trait originator who develops the technology. They have the licensing, and that gives them the control throughout the supply chain of the licensing fees that other folks have to charge as that product works its way through the system to your farm. Ultimately, those licensing fees have a huge impact on the price you pay. Each step in the chain adds cost to your farm. The zones we could look at from data. Some of you have 4 zones, 3-4 zones in a state, meaning if you live in one county, you pay a very different price than another farm. This is a problem that costs farmers $1.1 billion based on our estimate, zone pricing. Now you've started to see outcome-based pricing, okay? This is another way of thinking about it is personalized zone pricing. You're now having personal pricing based on your farm. We don't believe in it. We believe in flat rate pricing that is just the same, okay? We think that's a much fairer system. We think it's a much more transparent system. So our goal is to take the seed system from this and to make it like this. Put you much closer to the breeders. This is the way seed used to work a couple generations ago when you had a lot more breeders, where you may have worked or your grandparents may have worked with breeders in your area, very local seed companies. We do that through data. We do that through you sharing data into the system and now sharing into the breeder network that we've developed. And when you participate in F2F, you share your data back. That's directly helpful for us in breeding, and then that's helpful for you in target and seed selection, targeting, soil placement, any number of agronomic variables that we can help with. It's all enabled by the network data. So that's the vision. Now, the principles are also different. So it's breeder direct. We're going to have yields without compromises, meaning you get yields without the funny business on pricing and zones. You get transparency on genetics and pricing, and flat pricing, right? We don't believe in zone pricing. You shouldn't have to deal with it. And so we've created a platform, F2F, which has its own seeds and distributes other seeds. And we've had incredible pricing that we've been able to roll out on this model. In conventionals, you've had corn seed as low as $99. This year we had soybeans as low as $20 a bag. Traded soybeans, okay, as low as $20 a bag. Alfalfa as low as $170, and we had sorghum for right around that price as well. And if you want sorghum, we have that in the booth. Now, when we came out with F2F genetics last year at Farmer2Farmer, one of the big comments was, great, okay, that's great, but it's conventionals and I really need traits, or I want traits that just gives me more security. But I don't like the zone pricing, other aspects I have to deal with in the business. So the question is, can you have traits without zones? And the answer is yes. We've developed a distribution with a product line called Master Farmer. It's exclusive to F2F genetics, and we do not have zone pricing on traits. You get single stack, double stack, and triple stack products, very competitively priced with no zone pricing. Flat rate pricing shipped to the farm. Now, one of the great things about that is these are products that are relabeled, okay? But you get to see that with the FBN system. The transparency is all up front. You go to the seed finder, you can hit the button, see which products they're the same as, and we're finding savings of up to $59 a bag for those products that you could be getting these products under other brand names. You can get them under Master Farmer for up to $59 a bag less. That's how you put transparency to work, so you make it pay. It's now a product selection and purchasing system you can immediately use. I don't know of any other seed company that will actually show you which other products are identical. The other big aspect is the freedom to keep seed on traits. Okay, so on soybeans, we have our Soy Plus One program. If you want to, you can keep the seed. There's a treatment and processing fee for doing that, and it allows you to basically bin run the seed for the next year. It cuts your seed cost in half. There's a fee to do it, but it effectively cuts your 2-year seed cost in half. If you were doing the 2-year program, the Soy Plus One, with our $20 beans, your 2-year seed cost would be $15 a bag. Okay, it's an incredible savings. Many of you are paying $50 a bag or more for those products. And that's what having a different model and not having the same restrictions that the industry has on other players allows you to do. Okay, so how did we do? What's the data showing? So last year, F2F genetics was used in the 2 different products, Master Farmer, F2F, were used on nearly 1,000 farms, 1,000 FBN members across the US. And the key thing here is that you have to think very differently. If you keep thinking in terms of yield, that can lead you astray. And for us, Moneyball farming means focusing on ROI, not on yield. Okay? You focus on net profitability. And in seed ROI is your price to performance ratio. It is not, it's not sufficient to have a low yielding seed. It could be inexpensive. That could cost you a lot of money. You could also lose a lot of money by having extremely expensive seed that has marginal performance. So you need a strong performing seed, and you need it at a very, very good price. That's how you get optimal economics in seed. So how do we do? In our 3-year trials with our F2F genetics, these are conventionals. These are head-to-heads with DeKalb and Pioneer, similar maturities. National averages was a 60% win rate based on ROI with an average win of $25 an acre across our portfolio. In Master Farmer, it was an average of a 61% win rate with an average win of $23 an acre for those who wanted traits. Now, the data is all rolling in from harvest, and so you can watch Seed Finder as the performance data for your area comes in, and come to the F2F genetics booth. We can show you all the trials and show you all the Seed Finder data as it's rolling in, but it's there in the app as you check it out. But the point is to focus on ROI. Okay? So to beat the odds in seeds, you have to fundamentally play a different game. You can't just go after yield. You really got to focus on net profitability, and that means your price to performance ratio. Now, one of the biggest announcements is that, traits have become almost perfectly priced by the industry, meaning the value of those traits, as we saw in the price difference between the traded seed and conventionals, that value has been captured almost entirely by the industry. The yield gains are very minimal at this point on average. But some of those traits are starting to come off patent. And so that means you can start getting access to those traits under a totally different pricing model and a totally different distribution model. So we're very, very excited that F2F Genetics is going to be helping to roll out the first post-patent traits, some of which would be available this year in trial quantities to any growers in the southern US. So we have our first post-patent GT corn is going to be available in trial to some southern members of FBN. So if you're interested in that and trialing out these products, talk to us at the seed booth. Soybeans, similarly, those are going to test as well in 2020, with more traits coming in the next few years. So getting the value of traits means having a different pricing model on it. Traits and genetics do different roles. Genetics are going to drive your yield. Traits are going to protect the yield. And right now, the traits aren't delivering the same ROI that they were 20 years ago because of the pricing of the industry. Now that they're coming off patent, you can fundamentally change the pricing, you can change the distribution, and you can get much more ROI. So we're very, very excited to be rolling out that this year. That's something we call seed freedom. It's trait freedom, it's pricing freedom, it's transparency. It is unhinging the shackles that have controlled these products and controlled the pricing that has had those negative economic consequences on farm income. So we're very, very excited for that. Crop marketing. Okay, let's talk about the revenue side of the business that all of you have to manage. Now, crop marketing is very challenging. It's highly emotional. The markets are moving around every day. It's something you all have to deal with. I do have to show this disclaimer. It's a regulatory issue for FBN Market Advisory. So past performance does not guarantee future results. Okay, so we rolled out our crop marketing services over the last year. It's been one of the fastest growing programs in FBN. There's over 200 million bushels enrolled in the marketing service by our members in the US and Canada. We just launched what we call FBN Market Advisory, which is our market advisory program in Canada, a few weeks ago. So it's now available to all our members in the US and Canada. And it combines a couple different services. It combines what we call a virtual elevator of transactions and contracts, market advisory, even insurance, bids and alerts, specialty programs and contracts, and things like non-GMO and organic, now regenerative ag programs, and basic brokerage. So there's two basic offerings for most members. If you're just if you're not into any of the specialty programs, it's strategy and execution. And in strategy, it's market advisory. It's a program you can do on your own or have an advisor. There's two levels to it. And execution is open to all members. You can trade or do contracts with us at any time. You just call your FBN rep or your marketing advisor. But we have a big new product, a very exciting thing that combines Moneyball. Whoops, get some water. Been talking so long. Okay. So, how to put Moneyball to work in your marketing. Now, Moneyball farming, means really marketing like a business and not like a casino. If you're trading emotionally, which a lot of people do, it's very hard not to, as the market's moving around, you're thinking about maybe locking in a very short-term gain, or you're maybe thinking about protecting a very short-term loss, or you're getting nervous about what's happening in the market. It's highly emotional and it feels like a roller coaster. It's extremely difficult. It's something most farmers struggle with. So we don't want you to operate like a casino. So we're rolling out a system we call Hedge Command. And Hedge Command is the first system that really combines true data science with network analytics across a full spectrum of your farm with advisory services and a market perspective. And so what it does is it helps you act like a business. A business looks at their income and their profitability and says, how do I manage my risks to manage my expected profitability in the long run? Not just for tomorrow, not just to present a loss tomorrow or in a few months, but over the next few years. What's my risk-adjusted return and outlook, factoring all the aspects of my business, okay? So what Hedge Command does is it actually looks at everything that affects your expected profitability, including your yield information and your yield data. It looks at your costs, the other costs that you have on your farm, on your invoices and other operating expenses. It factors your insurance, how much revenue protection you have, and other policies. Any cash sales you've done, what your actual positions are. And it actually can even factor futures and options. It can tap into the market, it can look at your futures and options alternatives, and it can constantly be updating your expected profitability. So it does all the math for you. It combines all those streams of information. It crunches the numbers, and it answers three basic questions on your expected profitability. Where are you today? What's your basic outlook? Where should you be? Where are you trying to go? And how do you get there? What do you need to do to manage your risk, to manage the revenue side of your business in the marketing and the option strategy to actually get there? And then it makes personal recommendations. It's unique to all your farms based on what's unique about your own farm, your position, and all the information I described. And it helps you decide when to sell, how much to sell, and gives you a range of different options and products to use. It gives you advice on which strategies to use at which time based on your farm's unique situation on a daily basis. So it's really, really fascinating. It combines very deep data science. And the best thing, I'm not going to do it justice, so I want you to come out to the FBN crop marketing booth, talk to Satish and the team who've developed it, and get a full demonstration. We can show it how it works on your farm. It's really amazing. It's available exclusively for members of Market Advisory. Market Advisory used to be called Cash Grain Management, or CGM. So if you're a CGM member, you automatically have Hedge Command. It's on the app, so you can check it out right now on your app. You just go into your Profit Center tab, and it's available to any member who wants to get it. Now, another very exciting product that we have in marketing is what we call Index Plus. Now, index funds or managed programs have become common in consumer investing. So, your difference between basically an index account and a managed account. An index is buying a basket of the market versus having an active manager who's charging you fees. And for those of you who want a managed bushels program, we now have a full algorithmic index fund and our index managed bushel program. And so what it's doing is it's using algorithms to do disciplined selling. It's removing emotion. It's automatically doing the selling for you, and it's powered by the FBN data and perspective on the market and the data science. And in the historical experiments that we've run on those algorithms, in the last 9 years, they've beat the market on average 7 out of those 9 years. So as Billy talked about, it's looking at the long run. It's not looking at the narrow sample set. It's not looking at that confirmation bias that you might get when something says what you think it should say with a small amount of data. It's looking at the long run, and it's optimizing to get you those incremental gains over your years. For those of you who are looking to have a program that might be a little less emotional and more hands-off, Index Plus is a very interesting program, and there's a deadline on it to get enrolled for 2020, so please come check it out in the booth. Now, one of the other things that we've been excited to be working on is regenerative agriculture. And in regenerative agriculture, a lot of you, in fact, when we did a survey, the majority of FBN members said sustainability and regenerative agriculture were priorities for your farm. And not just something you were interested in, but a core part of your strategy of how you were managing your soils and thinking about the long term. Now, a lot of you have gone into regenerative agriculture either to protect the soils or to reduce input costs or for other operating benefits. But aside from that, you may not have been getting paid directly for those practices. So the basic question to help accelerate regenerative ag and get you more returns is how do you get paid for those practices? The way you get paid for those practices is by having a common system to validate what you're doing and having that relevant with market players who are willing to pay you to do that. And we've been running a couple pilot programs we're very excited to be working on, one with Unilever and another with Tyson, where you can get paid for your practices for regenerative agriculture. And so again, that one's in the FBN booth. We have a lot more coming in there that we'll be able to talk about in the coming months. It's very, very exciting. As you start creating that common system, that will open up a whole world of opportunities. Okay, this is one of our exciting announcements for this year as well. Now, getting a loan can be one of the most frustrating things on the farm. You're all about to start doing it as you have to go out to your financing for 2020. You have to go through a very complicated approval process. It's very lengthy. We know how painful it is. I don't have to tell you about the difficulties in farm credit and what it takes to get your loan every year. There's been a lot of challenges for a lot of producers in getting credit in the last couple years. In the last generation, we've seen the farm credit system consolidate massively. 90% of farm credits are down since the 1980s. Ag banks have consolidated. You've seen about a 12% decline in ag banks. You've seen an increase in profits among those banks. They're doing okay. Their profits are up. Their profit per bank are up. But there's fewer access. There's fewer competition. And so there's been a lot of challenges for getting credit. Some of the challenges that we've heard from you, as you've told us, that consolidation is causing a lack of options. You don't always have an alternative lender. The loan process is very complicated. You have frequent meetings with the bankers, cumbersome renewals, and all kinds of added scrutiny to the system that complicates your planning. Your assets are tied up through blanket liens, and payment timing is not optimized for the way you actually manage your business, the way you manage your farm. And that leads to suboptimal outcomes in credit. So what we're trying to do is create Farmers First lending and think differently about the whole process of how you go about getting credit for the farm. Now, you've all seen that in terms of our 0% on direct, but now starting to apply that to the rest of the farm business that you need assistance with. So the basic philosophy is, again, it's powered by the network. We use network-powered financing. It's farmer-focused, so we focus on how we actually create a better experience, a better product that's more tailored to what you actually have to do. It's driven by data. In the future, your precision data will help you get a better rate. And it's holistic. It looks across the business, not just at an individual thing you're trying to finance. And so we now are excited to be able to have a full spectrum of financing programs for you. You can get operating lines, equipment, land, and input. Their rates are very attractive. In operating, they start below 4%. It just takes a quick consultation to see if it's the right thing for you. So come stop by the FBN finance booth, talk to the folks. We're testing this out, and we now have the full capability to do this across the business. So we want to thank you for all the things that you've done. A lot of you have supported FBN enormously, and that matters a lot. It's what has driven the growth of the business. So we've started to create a program to give you more benefits as you've participated in FBN. It's called our FBN Rewards Program. So one of the most exciting things to announce is that for all of you who have purchased through FBN Direct or F2F Seed at a very basic level, at the $5,000 level in FBN Direct, your membership is now free. So your renewal in FBN is now free. If you've purchased at a $5,000 level, you get an automatic renewal in FBN. And the benefits just go up from there, to even having free swaps and returns on seed, very big discounts on market advisory. So you get a whole range of benefits as you engage with the FBN system, and you get them across all the different things you do, whether it's seed or crop marketing or finance, you can accumulate those points. Now, all those levels are in your app, so you can check where you're at. If anyone has done purchasing, you've got your rewards program. It's all in the app now. You can see where you're at, and you just go to the hamburger icon, and it says rewards. Click the rewards button, and you can see where you're at. Come talk to us to see more information about all the different programs that are available to you. Okay. The most exciting part, crop insurance. So we know everyone loves to talk about crop insurance. Look, crop insurance isn't often the sexiest topic, but for a whole lot of you, you know exactly how important it is. And this is, if you had any of the issues that a lot of you had this last year, maybe you had floods or late planting, those crop insurance deadlines were extremely difficult and stressful periods. So last year at Farmer2Farmer, we announced that we would start having crop insurance options. And how it's gone, we're now insuring over 400 of our farmers across the country, and with a different set of options, okay? So what it does, again, it's network powered. It provides the advice that you'd get from a crop insurance agent. We have a dozen or so agents around the country with data-driven guidance, the perspectives of what we're learning from the network about risks and yields and issues that you're facing in your area to give you more optimized coverage or personalized coverage. And that means getting a better coverage ratio and a better rate. So one of the big aspects is precision reporting. So with our AIP partners, your data that you've already dropped into FBN, if you're participating in that capacity, can now be used to help you get better reporting and shorten the time that it takes to actually report acres with your agents. So we can work directly with our AIP partners, AIPs, based on the precision data that you've shared in FBN. Okay? We have a couple new programs that we're very interested to talk to you about. One of them is called a captive insurance option. And what it does is it literally makes you your own insurance company and allows you to take control of your costs, your claims, and your coverages. So if you're very interested in getting more involved in your insurance and changing your profile, a captive could be a very interesting model for you. And come check it out by talking to us. Another one, this is a pilot program that we're testing here. It's called our FBN Pro RP, and it stands for Precision Risk Option. So again, it uses precision data to help identify what level of coverage might be more appropriate, and it can help you get additional coverage. So come check that one out because there's a range of alternatives that are now available to you through the insurance program. It's very easy to do a checkup. You can transfer your data. We'll do the diagnostic. Come stop by the booth. You download your insurance data, and then it'll automatically help us do the diagnostic. You can see where you're at and what kind of options would be maybe more appropriate or available to you. Okay, the last thing I have is healthcare. We were very excited to announce this last year. Healthcare costs and healthcare frustrations have been universal across the country in agriculture. You all have suffered through it. I don't have to explain it to you. But here's the data. Your costs went up 53% in the last decade. It's a non-agronomic cost. It's a non-farm business cost. It's not typically one you've had any control over. It's a vastly larger system than even agriculture, and it's something that everybody has to deal with. So family premiums are up across the board. The frustrating part about that in agriculture, though, is that healthcare is just a risk that people can't tolerate not having coverage for. Yet many can't afford it. So 10% on average of producers have no coverage, and 72% of farms have a second job just for coverage, because you can't afford to have a catastrophic health issue bankrupt the farm, right? But this is really a travesty, and we need to create better options for producers. It's very simple. So we rolled out FBN Health. It's a partnership with Lifestyle Health Plans, and basically what it does is it provides a group plan for you if you're set up as a small business, and a husband and wife can qualify if you're employees of the firm. It covers you and your employees. Last year it was available in a few states. It's now available in 22 states, and we're increasing the coverage across the country. And what it does, provides health. You get 24/7 phone access to doctors. There's a full care network. and it's very easy to get the checkup and consultation. So at the display here today, we have our team. You can get a quote. You can get an analysis to see if it's appropriate for your farm. You can evaluate the plans, and you can get a quote and pricing and underwritten at the event. So come check it out. Here's what some of you have gotten from, from our health program this year. So here's one of our members, Bart Beatty in Nebraska, said, it's official, we shipped our group health plan to FBN, saved 45% on his health costs. Here's another member from Illinois, Darren Domi. FBN farmers have saved him 45% on corn and soybeans each year. Today, his business partners switched their health over to the FBN Farmers Program and are saving $1,400 a month, $1,480 a month on their premium. Now, Bart and Darren are very different sized farms. So saving $1,400 a month is about $17,000 a year. And if you think about what saving $17,000 a year to your bottom line means in terms of the amount of acres you have to cover to generate $17,000 of income, of net income, it's about 400 acres of corn, a little over that, about 440 acres of corn. So it takes a lot of land to cover those expenses. You can improve your farm's operating profile enormously by managing those expenses. So come check it out. We have flu shots. You can blood pressure, and I know skin cancer is a major concern for all of you since you work outside, so get derma screens because you can do that here for free as well. So that is the 2020 FBN ROI system. It's a full range of programs for the farm. It's all enabled by your network. It's designed to help you across the board and across your farm's P&L to systematically manage your costs, to create different opportunities, to help you get better yields through decisions and Seed Finder and those kind of programs, but also to systematically manage those costs. And as Billy talked about, it's incremental gains and incremental improvements. It's not always looking for the home runs, but it's picking up singles, it's picking up walks, it's picking up the savings where you can to manage the full spectrum of your expenses. And that's what it means to do Moneyball in professional sports. And that's what we can do on the farm. So the great thing about being a network and then having data is that now you can put all those systems to work. And that's what FBN's doing. So the network, using data and using the participation of all our members, has enabled all of these things in the past year. Price transparency, better seed and chem, better loans, insurance, and hedging. You put it together, it gives you a much better economic future on the farm. That's what being a network and having the analytical backbone to do it and having the wherewithal and the focus of what FBN does as a business to create those leverage points and opportunities for you does. It's the full spectrum. It's relabeling, it's health plans, finance, insurance, traits, market intelligence, trait freedom, $99 bag. It all comes with your membership. Okay, we haven't raised the price of membership, and in fact, as we said, for any of you who are paying customers of FBN Direct or F2F Seed or CGM, your membership renewal is now automatic. It's free. So that's one of the greatest things we're really excited to roll out. Now, that means, for us, Moneyball farming means focusing on what matters. Focusing on your bottom line, focusing on that expected profitability, looking at each issue that you deal with on the farm objectively, figuring out where your points of leverage are, and figuring out where the gaps of performance or income opportunity are that your data is going to enable. To do that, you got to confront the brutal facts, and you have to just remember that you will prevail. Okay? Confront the brutal facts, have faith that you will prevail. That's beating the odds. We're going to talk about all of those programs in a lot more detail. On anything you saw that is interesting, there's going to be detailed discussions with the experts, and you can talk directly and personally to them as well. The full team is here. Our market analysts, our seed breeders, our product development team, our data scientists, they're all here so that you can help us develop these programs, develop the technologies, and we can help you answer any questions. So, FBN, again, as we said, it's a network. And being a network gives you that strength. It gives you the strength of numbers in your market power, and it gives you the strength of numbers in your informational access. It all comes back to democratizing information. That's what gets you control. As you build the backbone of this system, that gives you the leverage to then put it to work on your farm and create these opportunities. We're going to say, again, what we always say every year, which is that our belief is farming should be fair to farmers. It's your business who drives everyone else's business. It's not the other way around. So farmers should be are the patrons. Farmers should be getting the respect and should be getting the income that you deserve in the market and not be having the enormous problems that you have to deal with when you have the lack of power and the lack of control that exist in the market. Now, these issues that we confront as a network and as a group, you confront them on a personal basis on your farms. We confront them in the industry. We get all manners of pushback and challenges from the industry to stop us from being able to do this. It's a real struggle. I just had a grower come up to me before the talk who had a business on the side as well, talk about the pressure and intimidation that he had faced with his side business as a vendor from majors. There's an enormous invested interest in not challenging the status quo, just like in baseball, okay? It took the A's to look at it totally differently, and then when you saw the success that the program had in the A's, you saw how quickly Major League Baseball changed. Now in farming, it's going to take farmers to be very focused on the issues that you have to confront, the market injustices and the imbalances of power and access. Get the data you need, use it, figure out what it says, and then put it to work. So you all have it, and you can create it, and you put it to work. So that's what it means to be farmers first. And for that, thank you very much. We don't take anything for granted, and we are very, very grateful that you all came to join us here in Omaha for these couple days. We know how busy your lives are and busy your schedules are. So thank you. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.